Hi, I'm Sherry Davidson. I'm the president of Davidson Property Management. I'm here with one of our great property managers.
Hi, I'm David Tiller.
And we're going to talk a little bit this morning about what Davidson Property Management does and some frequently asked questions people have. So how does Davidson Property Management earn people's business and keep their business?
Well, first off, we list your property and we put it on the MLS, and we put it out through a bunch of different websites such as Realtor.com, Florida Rental Leads, Zillow, Trulia, and all the popular rental websites that there are to get you the maximum exposure for your home as a property owner. We also take multiple pictures of your property. We go in prior to a tenant taking possession of the property. We take pictures of the interior, the exterior, anything that we can find that's appliances. We'll take pictures of it and keep it as part of the documentation. And during when the tenant is in the house, we do midterm walkthroughs. We go in and we check on the condition of the home, and we report that back to you during usually about the 6-month time frame for a year lease. We'll go in and again document it, take pictures of it, and then send you a report so you know as the owner how your home is being kept.
And how would the owner get their rental proceeds?
Davidson Property Management collects a monthly rent, which is, it can be dropped off in our drop box. It can be mailed to us, or it can be paid online as of January 1st. And when that happens, then we deposit that into your bank account. It varies based on the time frame of when checks clear for certain banks, when we can get it to you. But we want to get you the money as soon as possible, and it just gets deposited into your bank account.
And what would happen if a tenant pays late?
If a tenant pays late, we have to give them a 3-day notice to pay rent. And what we do is we go out to the property and we post a 3-day notice on their door, or we hand deliver it to the tenant. And what the 3-day notice says is it says they have 3 business days from the time they've been served to pay the full amount of rent, or they have to turn the property back over to Davidson Property Management. And then we keep in constant contact with that tenant to make sure that they're getting us the rent as quickly as possible.
And how are repairs handled for the tenant and the owner?
For both the tenant and the owner, Davidson Property Management has a list of insured and qualified vendors that we use on a daily basis. With having a list of insured and qualified vendors, it gives a quick turnaround for service calls. Most service calls can happen within 24 hours. So if a tenant calls me at 8 o'clock at night, I can have somebody out there either first thing in the morning or within a couple hours after they call me at 8 o'clock at night to get them, the tenant, that service, and to prevent more damage to the owner's home than it has already occurred. And
if I can't get you on your cell phone, is there another option for reporting something?
Yes, we have an email address that gets sent out to all 3 of the property managers. It's repairs@davidsonpropertymanagement.com, and both the owners and the tenants can email that email address with their concerns, and it'll get forwarded to all the property managers, and then that property manager, once they read it, will know which property it belongs to, and then we can make the necessary arrangements to take care of the problem.
Great. Now, what is the cost for Davidson Property Management to manage my property?
The cost is we charge a 1-month rent placement fee. So we're listing your property for rent at $1,000 a month, the first month will be $1,000, which Davidson Property Management will collect. Every month after that will be a percentage rate of 12% to manage your property. And
I understand there's fully managed properties and there's tenant placement. What's the difference?
Fully managed properties are where you, the owner, pay Davidson Property Management the 12% every month to manage your property. Like I mentioned before, we list the property, we do all of our reviews, we take the pictures, and we deal with the 9-10 o'clock at night repair phone calls. So that you never have to collect a rent check, you never have to serve any late fee notices, you never have to communicate with the tenants. You just sit back, relax, and collect a rental proceed in the mail. The opposite side of that is a tenant placement. You hire Davidson Property Management for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to find a ready, willing, and able tenant to occupy your home. The fee for that is the first month's rent. So what we do for tenant placement is we list your property, we market it, and then we find a tenant. We then conduct a background check and a credit check on that tenant. And once we've done that, we give you that information and you approve that tenant. If you approve that tenant, we place them in the property for you. After that, and we've collected the first month's rent, we turn all the management functions over to you, the owner, and you now have to deal with the 9 o'clock at night phone calls, the collecting of late fees, the collecting of rent, making sure that the rent is put into a Florida banking institution in accordance with the law. So the benefits for a fully managed property outweigh those of you having the stress of managing it yourself.
I would agree with that. When the tenant leaves, if you're managing the property, you actually do the walkthrough, and if there's any issues,
correct.
You handle that.
Right. Once the tenant leaves, if they have paid in full up until their lease end date, what we do is we conduct a move-out review. We go in there, we make sure that the carpets have been cleaned in accordance to their lease agreement. The interior has been professionally cleaned in accordance to their lease agreement. If there's any repairs that they didn't notify Davidson Property Management prior to their lease end date, we have to repair those prior to a new tenant occupying that property. And with that, we have 30 days to notify the tenant that we're imposing a claim on their security deposit. And any repairs or any painting or any cleaning that needs to be done, we try and take that out of the security deposit, because that's what the tenants paid for. Was they paid to have the money in the bank account for any damages or repairs necessary. So that's where that money comes from, and that's what we do at the end of the lease term.
Okay, let's ask one more question. And that would be, if I were a tenant and going to move in and I needed to get all the utilities in my name before I can move into the property, correct?
Correct.
And how would I go about knowing how to do that?
During the application and lease process prior to you moving in, you'll be in constant communication with a property manager of the property that you're trying to occupy. And we will provide you with a list of all the utility providers in that area, whether it be Duval, Clay, or St. Johns County. And it is up to you at that point to contact those those utility providers to put those utilities in your name, and then give Davidson Property Management documentation that the power's in John Doe's name, the water's in John Doe's name, and that way we know that you're now going to fulfill on your obligations to occupy the property.
Great. Thank you for that great
Absolutely.
information.